Lore is an interesting subject when it comes to the game of Grounded. And right now, there's a lot of people who have been requesting for me to go through all the different chips that are in the game, listen to the stories that are on them, and give you guys my point of view, as well as where I think the story is going to be going in the next updates to Grounded that should be coming in the fall of 2023 to early winter 2023. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to go through and we are going to listen to Burgle's chips. We are going to go through and listen to the Burgle transcription units little orders that they have here. There are 5 of them, and while we're going through there, I'm going to be going and talking a little bit more about the entire lore of Grounded, what happens during the story during each one of these chips, and giving a little bit more background about what's happening. Be warned, there are going to be spoilers throughout this video, so if you have not already beaten the story of Grounded, you are going to actually have some spoilers that are going to happen while we're going through here. But let's, as Burgle says, have an exponentially great day by going through and learning a little bit more about this fun little spunky robot that everybody has come to adore in the game of Grounded. So let's hop in. Let's start off with Burgle's first order, more or less order number 1. This is when Burgle and Wendell first meet, when Wendell reactivates Burgle after finding out that he needs a little bit of assistance with what he is doing with all of his work on the spacer technology. So let's kick it off with order number 1, and then we'll talk a little bit more about their relationship.
Burgle transcription unit 87.9.5, order number 1.
Robot, I need you to monitor these power fluctuations and inform me if they exceed acceptable limits.
Hello, my name is Burgle, and I will be serving you today. I specialize in cooking, flipping, and grilling.
Grilling? A feature useful only to your obsolete burger-flipping brethren now consigned to the scrap heap? I need you to monitor these readings, Burgle. And isn't it redundant to specialize in cooking and grilling?
Understood. Appending monitor power fluctuations to my prime directive list. Deprioritizing grilling.
Good. Now get on with it.
Reprioritizing grilling.
So as you can hear, when Wendell and Burgle first meet, it's very much so Wendell just being very orderive towards Burgle, saying, do this, do that, deprioritize this, why are you doing this? You are no longer a grilling robot, where Burgle's spunky little attitude comes out once again at the end of the video for the first time and says, yeah, okay, I'll deprioritize this. Ha, just kidding, I'm actually going to reprioritize it. You can't tell me what to do, crazy human. But you do get to hear a little bit more about Burgle himself. Burgle is a Burgle transcription unit meant for grilling at Robbie's automated burger shop, more or less. And he is an obsolete robot now. I believe Robbie's went under, and now there is Burgle, who is left being one of the only remaining little Burgle units that there are out moving around. So you can hear that Wendell is very cut and dry with him and just says, hey, go through and do this. This is what I want you to do, and you don't have a choice. Just hurry up and do this for me. And Wendell's not super nice about it, but Burgle's okay and just says, you know what? Everything's going to be the best, so let me just go through and make the best of it and just say, okay, let's get right to work. So in this next one, we're going to jump forward in time a little bit. This one is going to be going through and talking a little bit more about Burgle's excellent mustache. So you can see that we went from order number 1 to order number 73. So this is going to be 72 orders later, where Burgle is talking to Wendell. So we're actually jumping through time quite a bit. You can see we're going from September 5th, 1987 to October 25th, 1987. So we're going forward in time almost 2 entire months here. So let's go through. Let's listen to what Wendell has to say about Burgle's excellent mustache.
87.10.25, order number 73.
I find it a wonder that the Burgle Mark IVs never caught on. I believe them to be far superior to the Mark IIIs. Those never lived up to my expectations.
How's that?
They can only calculate post-cooking burger weights to the nearest tenth of a pound. And they only had enough memory for one seasoning module, salt or pepper. All solved with you Mark IVs, not to mention your most excellent mustaches.
Thank you. I will never forget this moment.
So as things were working further along with Dr. Wendell's research of figuring out how to generate this spacer technology that he was working on, he started to come through and warm up to our good friend Burgle here, and even throws him a compliment at the end of that last chip that we were listening to, saying how excellent Burgle's mustache is. But he also points out that Burgle is a Mark IV unit, not a Mark III unit. The Mark III units were the ones that were used widely in all of the Robbie's burger stores, but it sounds like that Burgle's brethren of the Mark IVs never really caught on, which is why that sadly I think that the Robbie's restaurant went out of business. But that was just a fun little chip to go through and see how Wendell and Burgle's relationship has grown a lot in just a few short weeks, from a very cut and dry do what I'm telling you to do robot to him actually complimenting him and them talking a little bit more and saying something to Burgle that really perks up Burgle's day. So what we're going to do is we are going to hop in and we are going to listen to the third data chip. Now the third data chip, this one is September 5th, 87 all the way to April 15th, 2089, or I'm sorry, not 1989. So this is over a year and a half later that we are having our next chip. Now this is a year and a half later when they do their first shrinking. So this is after they've gone through and they have done a lot of work together. They've gotten to know each other very well, and now this is the first time Burgle is getting shrunken down using the spacer technology. This means Dr. Wendell has now gone through and shrunken down Thor's dice, his first experiment using the spacer technology, and it actually working. So now he's gone through and decided to shrink down Burgle before human testing. So let's get in, let's listen to this a little bit more, and then we'll talk about more about what's going on right now in Wendell's life, as well as what's going on with Burgle. So let's go through.
Burgle transcription unit 89.4.14. Order number 80.
Burgle, are you there?
Yes, sir. It appears that the shrinking process has not overly affected my functionality. I do not know how this is possible. I previously believed that all the parts of my functional unit were required for operation, but apparently they were not. Perhaps that means I have some extra storage space.
Haha, very philosophical. Do you feel anything else?
No, everything appears to be the same. Though I have come to realize that this world is absolutely covered in filth. It is quite concerning. You may wish to wash your hands before returning to work.
So after Burgle was successfully shrunken down, you can hear Burgle's restaurateur expertise coming out once again, talking about how dirty the world is and how they probably need to wash their hands before returning back to work. But what I do want to call out here is that this is once again showing the growth of their relationship of working together, and how Wendell actually sounded concerned for Burgle once he was finally shrunken down, and then there was relief in his voice once he actually heard from Burgle saying, "Hey, I'm okay, I'm down here. Apparently I had some extra memory that I could lose," which, you know, it plays a hint at what's actually happening in the backyard to anybody whenever they get shrunken down, losing a little bit of himself every time that process happens. But going through, it goes through and shows a little bit more about Burgle's successful work that he has done, shrinking down Thor's dice and successfully shrinking down Burgle, getting ready for those human tests. Now, looking into the next Burgle log here, this one is April 15th, 1989. Now the next one, order number 20, apparently, is October 4th, 1989. So this is about 6 months after the first shrinking. So this is after they've been down in the backyard for quite some time. This is after they've already started to work on some of the bases, including the web base, or the hedge lab, as a lot of people know it, but it was originally his web research lab for him to research the arachnids of the backyard as well as their web samples. That's what that lab was for. So this is going through and talking a little bit more about that. And this is, like I said, after they've been in the backyard together for some time. Now note that this is over 2 years since he met Burgle now, okay? So there's a definite difference in the way that Burgle responds to Wendell and the way that Wendell responds to Burgle. So let's go through and listen again.
Burgle Transcription Unit 89.10.5, order number 20.
Burgle, did you organize my research notes on the material properties of the hedge berries as I directed?
Of course. Well, no.
Good. Wait. Explain.
I have logged 110,437 different algorithms for organization and compiled them into an alphabetical list. That menu is being printed now and should be ready for review in approximately 12 weeks. After that is complete, I will be able to organize your research notes based on the algorithm you select.
Well, let me know when it's done then.
So yeah, he's a lot more understanding now with Burgle. After 2 years of working with him, finding out he's got 110,000 algorithms to go through and categorize, apparently alphabetically, mind you, that he is doing this. He has understood that, hey, Burgle has his own way of doing things. He also has his own limitations, so is going to need a little bit more time when it comes to getting his hedgeberry, which it says web samples, which I always thought was kind of funny, but it's talking about the berry leather samples and what they can be used for and stuff like that. So that's just going through, showing 2 years of wonderful work together, getting shrunken down in the backyard. Now this last chip brings a little bit more sadness. This is about another 7 months later. May 1st, 1990. One's called Robbie's Song, right? So this is Burgle this is Wendell after he's actually started to lose his mind. At this point, Wendell has gone through and had some major blows in his life, not only losing his job, fights with his family, fights with his kids, especially fights with his wife, a lot of setbacks, and now Wendell is utterly losing his mind at this point, okay? He is trying to figure out how he's going to be able to fix that, but he's relying on his good friend Burgle to put a smile back on his face by remembering the old times. Now this is 1990, okay? We look at some of our other logs that we have here, like when we had when he starts to feel woozy and stuff like that. It's in September of 89. And then as you go through and you start listening a little bit more to Burgle, and when he finally logs off because Wendell has lost his mind, was only 27 days after this log was recorded. So let's go through, let's listen to the last of the Burgle's logs, and we'll talk a little bit more about what I think is going to be happening with Burgle in an upcoming update. So let's go through and let's listen more.
Burgle Transcription Unit 90.5.1, order number 43.
Do it again, Burgle, for old time's sake.
What's that, Dr. Tully?
Play the old script.
Right away! Hello, and welcome to Roby's Classic Automated Burger Shop. My name is Burgle, and I will be taking your order today. Perhaps I can interest you in the daily specials? My favorite is the Roby's 0.375 pounder with cheese, with a side of mammal-style fries.
That will do just fine, Burgle.
Remember the Roby Burger motto: make every day exponentially great.
So there you are. That is the last of the Burgle recording chips that we have. Now, obviously, there's all sorts of data chips that you go through and pick up, and you can chat more with Burgle about his work with Wendell and things like that. But this is going through and talking a little bit more about the lore. So what happens after that chip is recorded? After that chip is recorded, about 27 days later, Dr. Wendell disappears into the Undershed lab. Alone, without Burgle, leaving Burgle alone in the Oak Lab to take care of everything. The Oak Lab is the monitoring station for all of the other labs and all of the different cameras and stuff that are throughout the backyard, for use to keep track of everything that's going on with the spacer technology and things like that. With the restriction of the Undershed lab. That is where Dr. Wendell has retreated to go try to do his last ditch effort on saving his mind. More or less, the reasoning has taken over Wendell completely at this point, and he is pulling himself back to his lab, where he is either going to go and complete his research or die. So, what does Burgle do from then on? Burgle starts to go through and set up things, becoming the acting science manager. Burgle goes through and completely takes over the research of the spacer, and what I mean by research of the spacer, he stops it completely. He goes through and adds the assistant manager boss over in the Black Ant lab to assist Burgle with keeping that lab safe, I believe, and continuing his research. And Burgle just goes through and kind of lives his day as he goes, day by day, living on and trying to figure out what he can do and ways that he can assist Wendell, even though Wendell's no longer around. Worried about his friend, he finds out that 4 young teenagers got shrunken down and put into the backyard, and elicits their help to go through and find his dear friend Wendell and help save him. He goes through, gets these teenagers, helps them find all of his little data memory chips that he has, remembers everything that happened throughout the time with Wendell, and also remembers how he can make the embiggening cocktail that was needed for him to increase the size or return the size of the teenagers back to their full size, but is still missing one item, which then Burgle sends you on a valiant quest to go through and find his dear friend Wendell. And when you do, you are surprised upon what you find. But after you go through and either save Burgle or save Wendell, or just use Wendell and finish the game, what happens is, at the good ending, I should say, at the least, Burgle is officially given a promotion to regional science manager. No longer acting science manager, he's now the regional science manager. Now, that just means that Burgle is now in charge of multiple bases of research for Dr. Wendell. So what do I think that means for the future of Grounded? A couple different things. First of all, I think that is a hint at what's going to be coming in the future for updates, possibly different yards, different areas maybe, or future updates that happen with Dr. Wendell. Maybe the teens are going to get brought back in a couple years to do more research. Maybe they're going to be going through and doing something that's going to be dealing with the mold contagion that's getting out, that's causing things to become the infected versions of themselves, whether that's the infected ladybugs, spiders, and what have you. But I also think that Burgle did more than just activate a single assistant manager. That's where I think that this next update's going to be coming. I think in this next update, we're either going to be seeing something in the shed or seeing something inside of the house. And I believe that there's going to be a lot more robots and stuff that Burgle went through and activated, maybe trying to search for Dr. Wendell, or once again, Burgle just saying, I'm the science manager now, so I do what I want and I do my own stunts. So all in all, that is right now my lore about Burgle. He's a good little robot meant for flipping and grilling and cooking, but is now a regional science manager for Dr. Wendell while he's working on his spacer technology. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you guys will check out the other lore videos that are going to be coming to the channel here very soon, going over all of the other data logs that we have right here inside of the Wendell. Now the next one that we're going to be doing is actually quite a lot. We're going to be going through and listening to every single one of the Burgle, the logs that are here for us. So we have a lot to go through here. So let's go on and let's get you guys out of here so we can get on to the next one.